ये सोच भी नहीं सकता था कि हमारी अवाम इतनी मेरी मदद करेगी, पैसे भी देगी, दुआएं भी देगी और फिर शुक्रिया अदा भी करेगी। तो मैं इनका जितना भी शुक्रिया अदा करूं वो कम है, क्योंकि इन्हीं ने हॉस्पिटल बनाया।
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
November 1994. A misty winter morning in Lahore, Pakistan's undisputed cultural capital and home to the country's first cancer hospital. The Shaukat Khanum Memorial Cancer Hospital and Research Centre has been built entirely on the faith and goodwill of the people on the street. Ashraf is one of them. Ashraf, a street vendor, has continued to support the charity since its earliest days.
मैं ये चाहता हूँ कि हमारे जितने भी लोग हैं सरमाएदार, अगर हमारे से शॉपिंग करें, सौदा खरीदें, उसमें हमें हौसला अफजाई दें। लेकिन सर वो फट ये सोचेंगे कि चलो ये मजदूर था, इसको 10 रुपीस वैसे दे। पहले तो नहीं तो मैं लिया करता, लेकिन सर जब इमरान साहब ने ये प्रोजेक्ट शुरू किया तो मैंने अपने ज़हन में ये सोचा भी जो तुम्हें 1 रुपया भी कोई देता था तुम उससे पकड़ो, तुम्हें इसमें क्या अर्ज, तुमने किसी से भीख थोड़े में, यही पैसा जो इकट्ठा करके इसके चंदे के अंदर तुम जमा कराई हो तो ये सबसे अच्छी बात है।
It's people like Ashraf who strengthened Imran's belief in the strength and generosity of the masses. 2 days into the final fundraising campaign and his optimism is absolute.
Because I realized that the people in general, the masses, they are not only are they intact, they have a lot of patriotism, they have a lot of fighting spirit in them, that they can sacrifice their today for tomorrow. I felt that this country has great potential and hope.
हमारी जान आप देंगे ना खून का नजराना ईमान से दे देंगे, गर्दन कटवा लेंगे।
At a private suburban clinic, 10-year-old Sumaira is recovering from her second operation within a span of 6 months.
2 दिन पहले पता लगा, तीसरे दिन डॉक्टर साहब के पास ले गए तो उन्होंने कहा जी इसको रसोली फेर हो गई है, फिर इसका ऑपरेशन कराना होगा, तो फिर ऑपरेशन करा दिया। ऑपरेशन होने के बाद उन्होंने कहा जी कैंसर।
Today in Pakistan, more than 250,000 people are diagnosed with cancer. More than half die without any treatment. Despite this fact, until Shaukat Khanum Memorial Hospital was built, there was no specialist hospital in Pakistan which could deal exclusively with the disease.
You know, I feel that nothing is impossible. You know, I've always believed that I'm an idealist, and I felt that if I could actually be true to the cause, which was to give equal treatment to the poor people, and secondly, to have a quality institution in Pakistan so that our people with money did not have to go outside for treatment, as my mother had to. And it's awful to leave the country for treatment. It's so impersonal. You know, we are family-oriented people. We hate being away from our families in times of crises.
But we are all welcome here to Imran Khan's Cancer Appeal Show.
Imran's sentiments were shared by people from all over the world, and Pakistani entertainers were among the first to come forward with their services to collect funds for the charity. Dildar Bhatti, one of Pakistan's finest comedians, suffered a massive stroke and died during one of the campaigns. He's deeply missed by everyone.
ਪਹਿਲੇ ਗਲੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਬੰਨਦੇ ਸੀ, ਹੁਣ ਇੱਧਰ ਬਣਨ ਲੱਗ ਪਏ। ਉਹ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਖਤੂਨ ਆਣ ਡਈ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਾਣ ਡਈ।
Then one day in 1989, Imran took everyone by surprise by announcing his intentions to retire from cricket. His passion for the hospital had become so intense that his first love, cricket, took a back seat.
And we said, if you resign today, when we have no more than 25-30 million rupees in the kitty, then we are dead. we had no hope of raising additional 250 million rupees, because by then the total cost had gone up to 300 million rupees.
That's up in the air, he's getting under it. This could be victory. It is. Pakistan win the World Cup. A magnificent performance in front of 87,000 people. Imran Khan has led his side to victory. What a great victory.
Away from the cricketing fields, Imran suddenly found himself playing on a completely untried wicket.
I mean, beautiful memories of 91, 92. हमने गए छोटे बच्चों के स्कूल पहले सबसे पहले स्कूल सुबह I remembered 7 बजे सुबह हमने पहुंच गए गर्मियों का और small kids और Imran stood on the stage. They made the stage all this and he was talking to the kids and he was speaking in English and he's talking like this. He wasn't talking to them because he was shy. They were looking at the hero and they wouldn't believe their eyes. But oh, Imran Khan pahunch gaye hamare school. And I could see them, but there is no communication. There is a gap. The children standing, scratching their heads and fiddling with their clothes. And I said, something funny happening. So when we sat in the car for another school, we were running from school to school time-wise. I said, Imran, you didn't reach them. He said, what else I can do? I said, you have to speak in Urdu. I spoke in Urdu. I said, no, you are like me. You know, wo to aapka khayal hai, wo to Urdu bolta, wo to English. He was speaking in English, so let's go in Urdu. Second school, well, you know, you could see they were looking up and understanding exactly what he's saying. Third school, he opened up Urdu about his pain he went through during his mother's illness, and you could see tears, you could see understanding, you could see, yes, do it, we are behind you.
You know, the children have been the greatest force behind this hospital. They've been like my army. All I had to do was to appeal to them that, listen, I need the money. They would then go to their parents, to their uncles, aunts, go out in the streets, and they would get the money. Now, I feel that my greatest contribution to Pakistan has been not in cricket, but in making these children realize that you haven't come here to live for yourself. You have come here to do things for others. And then this hospital has been something which they consider their own achievement. They feel they built it. And maybe when they grow up, they will go on to do things like this, similar things like the hospital. They will go and do things for the society.
The enthusiasm and inspiration of the children in particular set the whole nation in motion, potentially giving hope to thousands of children like Sumaira.
I didn't want to see any human in a condition that she was in. I mean, I was totally appalled and scared that if this is the way all the patients coming to Shaukat Khanum would be in this similar condition, and whether I would be able to do anything with them, actually. You know, because chemotherapy itself makes you sick, and if they're coming in with very poor status, then the chances of success are very poor.
Although the hospital was yet to be operational, paediatrician Dr. Osmani was forced to take Sumaira under her wing due to the inadequate facilities for treating poor cancer patients in existing hospitals all around Pakistan.
She was distrustful, she was depressed. She had a catheter that was coming out of her urinary bladder. She had pus coming out from her incision site and crying all the time. She did not want to relate to anybody. She didn't want to have anything to do with the doctors. She basically wanted to die.
It's 5 weeks to the hospital's opening, and the team meets to discuss final arrangements. At this point, the building is almost complete, and the big challenge is to ensure its smooth operation.
Most people believe that making a hospital is easy, but running it is very difficult. But in our case, making it was like climbing Mount Everest. You know, if we were handed something like 600 million rupees and said, listen, make a hospital, then maybe we would have said running it would be difficult. For us to collect this money, you know, was doing the impossible.
Ashok is one of Imran's closest friends, who from the beginning believed in Imran's vision. His support and dedication were crucial, particularly during the many difficult times.
Because every time we ran short of money or we had a problem, God created favorable conditions which not only made us overcome our immediate problem, but also increased our faith in God and the project.
It's the third day of the campaign, and Faisalabad is keen to live up to its promise of collecting 1 crore rupees, £200,000.
खुशकिस्मतों के इस साल गए, अगले साल अगर शादी के बाद जाते तो अंदर नहीं घुसने देना था। शौकत खानम कैंसर हॉस्पिटल पाकिस्तानियों का हॉस्पिटल है और पाकिस्तानियों ने खुद बनाना ये हॉस्पिटल। मेरी जिंदगी की ख्वाहिश ये है कि पाकिस्तानियों को ये एहसास हो जाए कि वो खुद भी कोई काम कर सकते हैं। पाकिस्तानियों ने अपनी मेहनत करके और खास तौर पे स्कूल के बच्चों और कॉलेज स्टूडेंट्स से मिलके ये हॉस्पिटल बनाया जिसमें अवाम और बस स्टूडेंट्स का हाथ है। और ये अगर हमारी अवाम अगर इस तरह का हॉस्पिटल बना सकती है जो कि इंशाल्लाह दुनिया में किसी भी कैंसर इंस्टीट्यूशन का मुकाबला करेगा, तो आप खुद ही सोचें कि और क्या क्या काम कर सकती है। तो मैं ये उम्मीद रखता हूँ कि पाकिस्तानी एक दफा ये हॉस्पिटल चलेगा और बनेगा और दुनिया की अजीम इंस्टीट्यूशन बनेगी, तो पाकिस्तानियों को कॉन्फिडेंस आएगा कि और भी कुछ कर सकते हैं। हम अपने पैर पे नहीं खड़े हो सके अब तक। इस मुल्क के पैसे वाले लोगों से हम सब मिलकर दुआ करते हैं। कुरान में एक छोटी सी आयत है कि अल्लाह मुझे बुजुर्ग और बुजुर्गी को बता।
Ashok has made it to Faisalabad. He has the heavy responsibility of making sure all the money is accounted for. The generosity of the people had taken everyone by surprise.
But as the campaign progressed, our confidence grew because seeing the enthusiasm of the people, I think we were sure that if we had 24 hours, we would have been collecting money 24 hours a day. The people never stopped coming. In fact, it was us who got tired and didn't have enough time to collect the money.
The nation was united and single-minded in its fight against cancer. It's the end of the day at Faisalabad, but the work goes on.
You know, my cook, who's very poor, he came to me one day and he said, you know, I know your hospital needs money. I've got a little land. I can sell the land and you can have the money. Stories like this make me realize that, we have so much and we are reluctant to part with it. And actually people who have little and who are used to living without much money, who are used to living with very little, in fact, they are freed. They no longer are prisoners of wants and desires. They can live with, they understand how it is to live with little and live for others.
Sumaira was beginning to win the battle, but the war ahead was to be long and difficult. The news from Karachi made it very difficult for the mass campaign to go to the streets. However, Imran remained determined.
Yeah, there were hiccups, but the political situation in this country, and especially in Karachi, it's so volatile. I thought it was expected. We took it in our stride, but we reached our target, which was the main thing.
इस हॉस्पिटल में पहले तो उनका इलाज होगा, दूसरा उनका इलाज मुफ्त करेंगे और तीसरा जब हम उनका इलाज करेंगे तो उनको इंसान समझेंगे।
At the hospital, as workers prepare for another day, in another part of the town, recruited nurses are being subjected to intensive training in their temporary makeshift school.
Well, we had no classroom to begin with, and we found ourselves teaching in a classroom, which you've seen, which was very difficult. We barely had any desks and chairs, and certainly the surroundings in the middle of the town, in the middle of dust, in the middle of the heat with no air conditioning, was extremely difficult, not only for the tutors but for the pupils alike. And I'm sure it was very difficult for them to concentrate. But it was a situation which we all took on board and which I found very stimulating.
It's Friday, and only 2 weeks to the opening of the hospital. Wherever Imran goes, people empty their pockets for him. It's about a month since Imran last visited the hospital. His excitement is immense.
It was tremendous seeing the hospital developing and suddenly looking into this quality institution. And the best I can describe it, as a mother would feel watching its baby grow.
For all the nurses, the trouble has paid off, and they now eagerly await the opening of the hospital to put their training to practical use. Imran's campaign is now in its final stages. Tomorrow he visits the streets of his own hometown, Lahore.
because it's very difficult to explain to people what happened. I mean, poor people giving their day's earning to the hospital, or people giving whatever they had, and they did not have much. Women taking off their necklaces and their earrings, and most of them were without their hooks, so it was obviously taken off in such a passion for the cause. It was the most touching thing that ever happened to me, and I think it changed me even more. I think I learned more about human beings during that campaign than any other education I'd ever had in my life.
Staff arrive at the functional hospital for the first time to begin rehearsals to ensure that the patient's first visits are as comfortable as possible. With only 2 more days to go, everyone realizes the importance of their mission. The hospital's medical director, Dr. Burki, has returned from America and has to get together with his team to ensure that they live up to the promise made to the people.
We would do everything to treat them free and give them equal treatment. I mean, that was the great promise. That this awful situation in our country where the rich and poor, there's so much difference the way they are treated here. The poor are cast aside like animals. The rich are given such privileges they can buy anything here. So what I was promising them was equal treatment. That they would be treated like human beings no matter what their financial status was, and quality treatment.
Quality, dignity and self-respect of the patient is at the forefront of everyone's minds as they prepare for the final day.
कि जो भी आदमी एक दफा यहाँ इस हॉस्पिटल में एंटर होता है, आपने उसको इंसान समझना है। अगर आपने उसके कपड़े ठीक ना देखे, अगर आपने देखा कि उसने फटे हुए कपड़े पहने हैं, अगर आपने देखा कि उसको अंग्रेजी नहीं बोलनी आती, आपने इसकी फिक्र नहीं करनी। आपने ये देखना है कि एक इंसान आया है हॉस्पिटल के अंदर।
को ये अस्पताल मुबारक, पाकिस्तानी कौम को ये अस्पताल मुबारक।
The Shaukat Khanum Memorial Trust Hospital and Cancer Research Centre finally opens its doors with a huge sense of pride and achievement for the people of Pakistan. Built on the principle of self-help and equal quality of treatment for all regardless of personal status, it is a fitting tribute to the beliefs of people and their faith in Imran. It is their hospital and they have a right to be proud of it.
जाना कहाँ बढ़ती रहे ये रोशनी चलता रहे ये कारवां दिल दिल पाकिस्तान जान जान पाकिस्तान.
Now, I anticipated that once the hospital started running, I would have a life of my own and I would be able to settle down. And that was always my aim. I mean, cricket never gave me a chance to, I never believed that I would be able to do justice to marriage as a cricketer. And then what this hospital made me do in the last 5 years, I knew it was impossible.
In the coming months, Imran and I married, and it's almost a year since the doors of the hospital were open to receive patients. They've come flooding in from all over the country. Today, Shaukat Khan Memorial Trust Hospital is doubtless one of the finest institutions in Pakistan.
But the greatest achievement is that the poor people can walk in. If they cannot afford cancer treatment, they're given absolutely free treatment. Until now, we've had almost 20,000 patient visits. It's cost us, treating these patients, almost $2 million. And the money we've earned from the paying patients is barely $60,000. So obviously there's this huge deficit because 90% of the patients were so poor, they could not even afford going back from the hospital. We had to, amongst ourselves, pool money to send them back.
लेकिन आपके टेस्टों में कोई कैंसर की अलामत हमें नजर नहीं आई.
Each day that I go to the hospital, I find myself becoming more and more involved.
Seven years she's had it.
Really?
7 years and 10 months she's been treated.
established it is?
Yes, baby. एक छोटी सी सुई यहाँ लगा आई देते.
Though we have yet to start major surgery, the day for the theatre staff is never quiet. At the radiotherapy centre, a patient is responding positively to treatment.
आहिस्ता से बैठ निशावा देखना. यहाँ देखो ये तुम्हारा जो पहले था ना, ये सारा जो सफ़ेद सफ़ेद नज़र आ रहा है ना, ये इतना बड़ा था. अभी ये ख़त्म होके ऑलमोस्ट यहाँ तक आ गए. देखो इतना तुम्हारा सूजन थी ये सारी फेस के ऊपर. और ये कितने दिनों में हुए? आज क्या तारीख है? 7 तारीख है ना, और 30 तारीख को तुम्हारी शुरुआत शुरू हुई थी. 7 दिनों में ये इतना कम हो गया.
बहुत कम है.
Here in the theatre, Dr. Usmani is intensively involved in putting a central line into a child. This is a little tube put through the arteries into the heart to facilitate the administration of drugs painlessly. One year on, and Sumaira's grandmother looks on anxiously as she goes through a scan, which could be her last investigation. Routine scans such as Sumaira's cost the hospital a great deal of money which has to be raised through public donations. Clearly, Imran and the marketing team have a huge task ahead.
Awareness awareness campaign of at least 3 to 4 weeks. You know, and that should just precede the zakat.
Nowhere in the world you have completely free cancer hospital unless subsidized by the government. Unfortunately, in the third world, there are hardly any specialized cancer institutions, and if there are, there's no such thing as unlimited treatment for poor patients as we are having. So it is unique. But then it's an Islamic country, and we have something called zakat. And zakat is really what is going to run this hospital. Because, I mean, if people don't give us zakat, which, as you know, is the Islamic, voluntary tax we have to give every year. Every Muslim has to give to the poor people 2.5% of his earnings. So that's what's sustaining the hospital. Had it not been for the zakat, this hospital would fold up.
Put it in, and this is the wire going right down here.
The line has successfully been inserted in place, through which the drugs will be administered. Drugs for the chemotherapy patients are carefully prepared each morning by the pharmacy. In total, the cost of Sumaira's treatment amounts to around £3,000, about 140,000 rupees. Out of this, her family were able to contribute just £12.
I have treated more than 250 patients at this stage, which is the number that would probably be treated at Sloan Kettering with 20 pediatric oncologists on board.
We are primarily involved with screening for cancer. And until August of this year, we have had about 5,000 patients who came to this hospital. And of these, 2,000 did not have cancer. Unfortunately, it is pain as a symptom that brings people to us. People who actually have lumps in the breast often go elsewhere and get all sorts of treatments before they come to us. And I think that's partly the reason why we see breast cancer, particularly in a advanced stage.
दवाइयाँ आपको दे देंगे जी लेकिन एक्सरे कराना पड़ेगा जी बिल्कुल शफा तो अल्लाह के हाथ में है.
Sumaira obviously has something to celebrate. She is cured and cancer-free, and who better to share the good news with than with her favourite doctor?
अरे ये मिठाई? Forget about the sweets. When she came in with her beautiful smile, it was like Christmas, Thanksgiving, everything all rolled together. I was so happy, so delighted. She just came straight into my arms, and it was like hugging my own daughter.
Today, Dr. Usmani is jubilant. However, she has had many traumatic experiences over the past year. Naveed was diagnosed to have an advanced, rapidly expanding tumour called Burkitt's lymphoma. It was treatable.
The hospital had just opened. There was no plan for inpatient beds. I literally cried in front of everybody. He was the impetus that we got the inpatient started by, within the first week of the hospital opening. Finally, after a day that I saw him one day, the second day we had the inpatient. It took me 24 hours to get that open. But we brought him in, but he died the day after. And that sense of guilt stayed with me for a very long time.
Hello?
Okay, we have a problem here with the patient regarding the accommodation. So,
we still have some way to go to start a fully fledged inpatient facility. The people of Lahore have offered us their homes to help with the overflow of patients free of charge. Many have come from far away and have nowhere to stay at night.
99% of the time you look at a patient and you know that he cannot pay. He cannot afford any cancer treatment at all, so we have to completely subsidize him. There's only 1% of the time we are not sure how much the patient can pay. We have a social services department which actually finds out the capability of every patient. They investigate it thoroughly. And even then, they have to eventually leave it to the patient. How much is he willing to pay?
If we were to charge patients for treatment such as an MRI scan, it would cost a whole year's salary for some patients, maybe even more. But for the moment, Imran is pleased.
क्या हाल है? बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। कैसी हो? ठीक हो? अब क्या बिल्कुल ठीक फील कर?
Sumaira's recovery forms a good story for the newsletter, which I am now editing for the hospital.
कभी नज़्म लिखती हो?
And we'll put it in the newsletter. Tell her she's going to be on the cover of the newsletter.
वो जो newsletter जो मैगज़ीन है उसके कवर पे आपकी तस्वीर आएगी, देखिए वाली तस्वीर।
Picture of her.
तुमने देखा हमारा पहले हॉस्पिटल?
कौन सा मैगज़ीन में?
वो जो मैगज़ीन जो
People want to know what the hospital has done. That's the most important thing, okay?
There's different types of establishing credibility. You can either establish it through showing patients, or you can show equipment.
It will be there. You see, there will be a series of activities.
First,
you can't put both in a page.
But first, just
newsletter.
first see what he has proposed, okay?
Yeah, quality of the equipment, the professional expertise.
Students have continued to support us in cash and kind, even providing their much needed blood donations. Of course, it helps to top up the blood bank, but also, and more importantly, it reinforces the national self-help philosophy behind the hospital.
सारा जो है यहाँ से होता है, दिमाग से ऑपरेट होता है।
तो ये शुरू से मैं ऐसे ही हूँ अब, लेकिन अब पहले से काफ़ी बेहतर है।
हाँ, इंशाल्लाह तो बिल्कुल ठीक हो जाएंगी आप। आपको पता है कि ये
Counselling and communication is at the top of the agenda, and Imran takes every opportunity to make that point.
आगे जाके मैं जो पेशेंट होता है वो पब्लिक रिलेशन करता है हॉस्पिटल के, और कई दफ़ा प्रेस वाले भी आए हैं यहाँ इस काउंटर पर, खुद ही आ जाते हैं, वो हमारे साथ नहीं आते, वो खुद ही चेक करना चाहते हैं। और आपको ये भी पता होना चाहिए कि गवर्नमेंट हमारे साथ नहीं है। अखबार में जो आप आर्टिकल कभी पढ़ते हैं ये फीड किए जाते हैं सारे। कई दफ़ा ये प्रेस में जो टेलीविज़न पे हम नहीं आ रहे, ये किसी वजह से कि हमने की कोशिश करनी है कि I just hope that sooner or later either this government realizes or when the next government comes, they must support this hospital because it's really the government's responsibility. It's not an individual's responsibility to do that.
Training exercises such as these are a continual process. In a hospital, one must stand guard at all times.
Okay, Milton. Very good. That was very good. You will save my life.
Words spoken in jest for some become a reality for others.
Dr. Usmani, please contact ICU.
What is it? Let's look at his sinus rhythm. Let's pull out a lead. Let's get a flat line. Does he have any pulses now? Stop the compressions. Let's see. Flat line, start again. Continue dragging. Start the IV. let's get this blood rolling.
Okay. उधर से बोले ना get the transfusion set.
Platelets, blood. Is there any bleeding from the GI? Let's have a happy story. शफीक, क्यों भाई क्या हुआ? सांस ले सकते हो? ठीक हो? हैं?
Just get back into your position. You know, somebody needs.
Good job, guys. You did excellent. I'm very pleased. So that was one resuscitation that had a good outcome, right? Excellent. I couldn't have wanted it to be better. Let's go down.
One more life saved, and as the adrenaline begins to settle, one wonders what is next for Dr. Osmani and her team.
Happy birthday. Don't tell me this. This is going to be on camera as well. Well, happy birthday. Oh my God. From all of us.
Happy birthday.
Did you guys know about this?
Oh yes. What do you mean? Well,
on camera too. I tell you, I'm surprised. Who should I hug?
Didn't eat yet. I told you I had another surprise.
I can't believe
I'm only 35.
That's
What are you talking about?
That's right, it's only women wage. I'm soon going to discover that he's 50, really.
The day is by no means over, however, for the team at Shaukat Khan Memorial Trust Hospital, who all work around the clock to save lives and fight cancer. But the big question is still being raised.
You know, you'll be surprised, I have no interest in cricket in the sense of ever being part of cricket anymore. You know, cricket is something which is in my past. I look at the papers and I'm interested in, but I don't want to get involved in cricket again. You know, I had my innings. It gave me a lot of joy. It taught me a lot of life. You know, it was a sort of stepping stone. Had I not had the cricket experience, I don't think I could have been able to build this hospital. And the hospital now prepared me for perhaps the education campaign.
Imran has long realised that in order to fight cancer, one has to be equipped with the relevant knowledge. And this, and the fact that Pakistan is the fourth most illiterate country in the world, has urged him to move on to take up yet another challenge.
The reason why Pakistan is falling behind literacy right now is that it started a system which was centralized, bureaucratic, where the community and the teacher had no relationship. The teacher was appointed from the center, sent over to a community. And, you know, if the teacher didn't perform or if the teacher was a favorite of some minister, the community had no control over it. And 50% of the schools, it is estimated in Pakistan, the building is standing but there's no teacher. And no one is held accountable for it. So what we want to do is, we want the community to find the teachers, the teacher to be responsible to the community, and the community to give respect to the teacher. So the teacher must have some status. You know, like what is given in Islam, the teacher is held very high in Islam.
Shaukat Khan Memorial Hospital has achieved what the people of Pakistan set out to do, to give dignity and a chance of life to the country's less privileged. Imran's leadership and dedication, coupled with the continued support and goodwill of the masses, inshallah, will always keep this dream alive.